when I said that I was excited for Mo and Xyz, like I wasn't fucking lying. Is that shit not the most interesting thing you've heard this year if you've not heard it before? I fucking love what's happening in France right now. Even a few years ago when Perturbator came out of France, like the stuff coming out of France at the moment, electronic music is so fresh and interesting. I absolutely love what's happening there. Right, I need to go sound check for IMX in 1 minute, so I'm going to hand you over to actors.
From a model of control.com at Stay Infest 2020, the indoor version of Infest this year, with all of us at home and making our own fun. And I'm with Shannon from Actors.
Hello, thanks for having me.
No worries, thank you, and nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
And yeah, we saw you last a few years ago at Infest.
That's right. Not last year, but the year before.
That's the one. I was trying to remember the date and I couldn't work it out because obviously I saw you guys in London last summer when you came over with Empathy Test.
Yes, that's right. And we had that was such a funny show. Like the soundboard like blew up.
Oh God, yes, I remember that. And we're all stood down the front going, and Jason's like, "What's going on?"
That show almost didn't happen. The sound man was just losing his mind, and the board was fizzling out, and we started to play a song, and about 30 seconds into the song, like the power went out, and it was that was one for the memory banks. For sure.
I guess as a band that tours a lot, though, that kind of stuff can happen. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Yeah, it's true. You just kind of have to roll with it, and often it's kind of good when unexpected things like that happen on stage, because then automatically the crowd is on your side. They're rooting for you. They're like, "Oh, please, we came out to see live music tonight. I hope it's going to happen." And then once everything gets worked out and we start to play again, there's like this different kind of like energy that like that you get when you come back from like a challenge like that. So
well, and right now, of course, it's like, you know, any live music would be lovely, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're now experimenting in the UK with distanced shows. Which basically isn't happening because it's not going to make anyone any money and it's just not going to work. So we've written off basically any chance of seeing really live music in any form this year.
It seems like everything that we had booked for the fall and for spring and summer this year has been kind of moved along into next year. So currently our first shows booked would be for spring next year, but even those are getting moved along farther. So I don't know, they're sort of projecting that it might not be until 2022, unfortunately, until
which is really gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean, we miss being on tour. For the It Will Come to You record, we were on tour for pretty much 2 years straight. So we were definitely tired after all that touring, and we needed a little bit of a break. But to have this much of a break is not what we had planned. So
no. So what did you have planned this year? Because I know you're pretty much on the verge of releasing a new record at some point, aren't you?
Yeah, we are finishing up the new record right now. It was supposed to come out in fall, but because we can't tour right now, we just decided to take our time with the last bits of the recording and that. And so we've been working on that in studio. All the songs are done. All the music is done. We're just recording the last bits of vocals and things like that. So that's been really fun. And then currently for like touring wise, we're supposed to be in Hungary right now at, there was a festival. I can't remember the name of the festival off the top of my head, but
it's Hungarian, don't worry, none of us will ever be able to pronounce it.
Exactly. Yeah. Which would have been cool because we haven't played in Hungary before. So that would have been an experience. And we would be sharing the stage with Godflesh, which would have been a really cool show for us. So unfortunately we didn't get to do that. And then previously in the year, we had a tour planned with Modern English. Unfortunately, that got postponed as well. So there's various things. And then with the album supposed to be arriving in fall, we had, Europe and US tours planned around the release of that too. But of course, with the way the world is right now, that has all been postponed for the moment. But currently the projected release date will be, I think, February for the new record. So, and we'll have some videos and that coming out in the very near future.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to this, because we kind of, you know, I've known Jacek, who runs Artifact, for many, many years. And you know, I kind of normally get nudged towards different, oh, this album's coming out, it's going to be amazing. I'm like, yeah, you always say this. And then albums come out and you're like, actually, that's not bad. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And you guys seem to make made a lot of friends over here when you first came over for Infest, but also from the other shows you played.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you seem to cross over by some way to kind of some more of the Rivet heads as well as the goths, because obviously all the goths are going to love what you do.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting split here. I mean, what about you? Where did you come from in terms of coming into Actors, in terms of what got you into this kind of music in the first place?
Sure. Like what led me to the band? Like as a member, or?
Bit of both.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I've always been a fan of like post-punk music, so you know, bands like Joy Division, of course, and the more like kind of dark electronic new wave stuff like Depeche Mode. Those are like definitely big bands for me in my past and that. And yeah, I guess being in Vancouver and seeing Actors play before I became a member, like I always liked there's sort of there's a darkness to the sound, but there's also a lot of melody, and there's sort of this dark romanticism that's in the sound that's quite appealing to me. So yeah, I was definitely a fan of what Actors was doing. And then Jason and I, my bandmate Jason, and I have known each other for a long time. I used to do a lot of photography in music and that many years ago, and so we crossed paths initially due to photography and artwork and things like that. And yeah, we decided to work on this project called Leathers, where we co-wrote a song together. And that first song was Missing Scene that we did together for the Leathers project. And then that went really well. And then there were some lineup changes happening within Actors, and I think one of the members was touring with another band, so he had asked me to play synth and sing backups for like a couple like fill-in shows. And then yeah, I think he liked how the band felt with the kind of new lineup, and then asked me to become a permanent member. So yeah.
And we were looking at in terms of what you play, because you're playing like what might be termed vintage synths, from what I can tell.
Yeah, mostly like analog stuff. I mean, they're new synthesizers. So like currently I'm playing a Prophet 6 from Dave Smith, which I love. It's just there's just no bad sounds on it. Like it's just an incredible synthesizer. And the one that I toured with the most last year was the Prophet Rev 2, which is also a Dave Smith synth. Although they go by Sequential now, they've rebranded again. So, but yeah, the Rev 2 is a fantastic touring synthesizer. It's just so versatile. You know, it's bitimbral. You can split the board, and so you can have various like patches on the keys and all that kind of stuff. So it's great for live performance, and yeah, just a very versatile instrument. And it all sounds great. It is, however, very heavy. So
it did look it.
So so we were supposed to play at South by Southwest this year. And so we've, of course, all this touring has been canceled, but we ended up buying one of the Korg mini logs to tour with instead, because it's like, it only weighs about 5 pounds, which is much better than the Rev 2, which weighs about 50 pounds in its case. So yeah, that was, I got a lot of muscles carrying that through all last year. So.
It's kind of, there's that thing, isn't it? The kind of the joke, the synth player that's playing like 4 synths, you know, like kind of like 80s rock and whatever. There's always the dude there with all of them, and you're like, you know, really though, in our scene, you know, one synth is going to do enough. But then the technology has advanced so much that, you know, do you need to have multiple synths anymore? I mean, you know, some might do, I guess, but
yeah, I guess it depends on how much of a purist you are about like recreating the recording or things like that. But we've Jay uses the Prophet 6 a lot on the Actors recordings and studios, so And the Rev 2 sounds quite similar. It's a little bit brighter sounding, but yeah, you can, you know, it has the same kind of palette of sounds that you can work with. So yeah, we thought that one would be good to take on tour, but you know, the Korg is a great synthesizer too, so, and much lighter. I'll be able to carry it on instead of putting it, you know, in the luggage deck in the plane. So.
Going back a little bit, you mentioned about leathers, and I was actually listening to the tracks a couple of months ago, because there's a handful of tracks out on Bandcamp. And what happened to that project? Is it just one of those things that just time got away from you in terms of doing more of it?
Yeah, I mean, because we toured so much with actors in the last few years, it wasn't, it definitely wasn't like stopped. So we've always continued to like write demos and things for it. And we actually do have a studio date on Friday this week to start recording new material for it. So yeah, there will be more. We will release a full-length record for it next year. We're just in the process of getting everything captured in the studio. So.
Well, that's good news. Well, that's good news. So what kind of stuff are you listening to at the moment? Because obviously there's so much out there right now. It's kind of like, even as a writer like me, it's so difficult to kind of get in, you know, because there's just this torrent of new music, and it seems like lockdown has made it even worse.
Yeah, no kidding. There's so much I mean, there's tons of good stuff out there, and there's so much to go through. Let me think. I really like the Beak project, which is a Jeff Barrow project. Of Portishead, of course. Yeah, I love all that stuff. We listen to that a lot on tour too. It's good driving music, and it's a little bit like Noi krautrock inspired kind of sound. So that's something that I really enjoyed listening to lately. What else? It's like I'll have to like open my Spotify here and see.
Well, that Beak album, I know what you mean about the kind of the noise kind of sound to it, because there is that kind of almost motoric kind of rhythm to it, isn't there? That like he's been listening to a lot of that stuff in the past, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Let me see here. Another band I really like is a band called Tempers from New York.
Oh, I've seen them live in London actually. In
okay, cool.
Venues. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I really like I think their new record's called Private Life, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's great. It has like a lot of there's a lot of mood to it, and the vocalist, she's got a great voice, and really enjoying that record too. Some of their older material is like a little bit darker and more post-punk inspired, but this one, I don't know, I'm having a difficulty describing it, but there's definitely like more melody and like more texture that's involved in
the word that popped into my head about it was that when you said that, is that it sounds more, it's kind of a richer sound to it. It's kind of, there's so much more depth, and I think my problem when I saw them live was that it's a tiny venue, and it's not one that's got great sound. I think they suffered for the fact that depth wasn't coming across. Which kind of annoyed me, because they deserved far better than they got. But it's always that's always a risk, right? As we found when we saw you last year, that not everything will go to plan, and you never quite get to present yourself like you'd like to.
Exactly,
right?
Good little tech problems sometimes.
And we've seen it so many times at Infest over the years. I mean, I remember one time where a synth-based band who were using laptops, both of their laptops failed on stage.
Oh my gosh!
and that was their. And that was their backup
scenario.
Yeah, and there was just this silence, and everyone's there like, do. What do we do now?
Yeah, absolutely. Another band I've been listening to, which is an old favorite, is Killing Joke.
Yes.
Yeah, love those guys so much. And recently on Amazon Prime, they just put out the it's like a biopic film, which was really interesting to kind of just hear more backstory on the band. I didn't really know a lot about them as people, and it was interesting to like know how much occult references are kind of tied into the music. I didn't realize that jazz was such a studier of like black magic and things like that. So that was very, very intriguing. I learned something.
He's an intriguing character.
Yeah.
That much is for sure. And like watching him on stage is kind of amazing because he's just like, you know, he's got that, apparently he's terribly short-sighted, which is why he looks like he's got a 1,000-yard stare on stage.
Oh, really?
But it's, you know, it's a great show, and the way watching, he's so formidable as a frontman. But it's weird where it's weird where their influence comes from too, because there's the new Napalm Death single came out this week that sounds for all the world like an 80s Killing Joke track.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, fascinating.
So that was not what we were expecting from that when we heard it on Friday. We were all
like, no
oh,
kidding.
Right?
Yeah, I actually haven't seen Killing Joke live, unfortunately, so it's definitely on my bucket list. So hopefully we'll get bands touring again.
Hopefully so. I've only done it the once. The big one I was looking forward to that obviously is never happening now until next year was Neubauten playing in London at the end of next month.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, you can see I'm a fan.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I've seen them 3 or 4 times. I saw them first in 2004 when they played in London, which was like a legendary show that they did.
Oh yes, I saw them on that same tour. They actually did come to Vancouver. It was for I think it was for the Silence is Sexy tour. Or maybe it was an anniversary tour.
I think it might have been Perpetua Mobile around that time.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did see them on that tour, and it was incredible. It was a very special show.
Yeah, and they're always kind of fun to watch. But I kind of the one memory that really sticks in my mind is when they did one of the anniversary shows, and they're just talking. He draws on his cigarette for Silence is Sexy, like he does in the encore.
Yeah.
And he turns to Alexander Hacker and goes, you remember that time we were throwing Molotov cocktails into the crowd in Oslo? And they both just sighed and just as if it was like, oh, good times.
Yeah. Oh, memories.
Yeah, and we're all worrying in the crowd like, what are they about to throw out here?
That's funny, yeah. Yeah, I do love how they recreate all those kind of really organic sounds on stage too. It's so cool.
With like a drawer of knives or something just to...
Yeah, exactly. Or like like using a really hot mic to record that cigarette drawing sound. Like, yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah,
very creepy.
Have you heard the new album?
No, actually I haven't. I need to investigate that.
Oh, you do. There's a few nods to their past, but it's kind of a mellow album, but it's all about Berlin.
Great.
And it's kind of odd, but it kind of sticks in your mind the first time, and then you listen to it again and you're like, oh my God, this is actually amazing. But it took me a while.
Gets in there.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it all summer because it's just one of those albums been doing it. So,
I don't know why that passed me by, but yeah, I definitely need to check that out. I will do that right away today.
Good stuff. So obviously everything's on hold. I mean, I'm presuming from what I hear that you guys are basically, there's not a lot of fun going on other than, being locked down and trying not to get anything spread right now.
Yeah, exactly. Vancouver's been good about people wearing masks and stuff like that. So there have been a rise in cases again because, of course, the weather is now beautiful here. So people have been going to the beach and like going to parties and barbecues and stuff like that. So there has been like a bit of an increase, but generally as like for us, I mean, our bubble, like our social bubble is kind of just the band. So we're just, we're just working on new music and we're recording stuff. And I'm a tattoo artist, so I'm taking like very limited bookings and that. And with my artwork, I'm also painting a lot too. So kind of keeping busy doing the creative side of things with my artwork as well. But yeah, it's so far it's been okay. Like we've been able to continue to make music and do artwork and all that sort of thing. So
yeah. Good. Well, on that note, I think we should probably wrap up because I'll have to get this edited down and get it into the system. But you will,
for sure.
By the time you see this, it will be Stay In Fest on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we will hopefully see you this side of the pond at some point whenever we can.
I hope so too, as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your time, and Shannon, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.